In this episode of Behind the Song, let's dig into one of the most iconic songs about persevering in the classic rock canon, Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. It's a song that has had many lives since its first release on the Escape album in 1981. That album is Journey's bestseller, having sold over 12 million copies worldwide, and Journey have sold over 80 million albums in total around the world, making them one of the most successful bands of all time. The lineup of Journey has changed several times over the years, even briefly including Randy Jackson from American Idol as bassist in the mid-'80s. But none was more successful than the group that recorded this album. Keyboardist Jonathan Cain, who joined the band the year prior to Escape's release, lead guitarist Neil Schon, Ross Valerie on bass, Steve Smith on drums, and the singer with a voice so unforgettable that he was given the name The Voice by Jon Bon Jovi, Steve Perry. Originally formed out of San Francisco in the early 70s, Neil Schon is the only remaining founding member of Journey. He had been the guitarist for Santana while he was still a teenager, and the group was formed when former Santana manager Herbie Herbert decided to create a group of backing musicians for prominent Bay Area bands. They evolved into a prog rock band, experimenting with jazz fusion, and were signed to Columbia Records in 1974. Steve Perry, meanwhile, grew up in Northern California, the son of Portuguese immigrants who divorced when he was very young, after which he began using music as an escape, idolizing Sam Cooke and other Motown artists, and eventually singing in bands around San Francisco. Perry drew the attention of Herbert in 1977 on the strength of a demo tape, and he became the new lead singer of Journey shortly thereafter, moving the group into a more radio-friendly sound. Jonathan Cain originally hailed from Chicago, and it was these three, Schon, Perry, and Cain, who together wrote the motivational hit that seems to never stop gaining in popularity, Don't Stop Believin'. The song actually got its start when Cain, who left Chicago for Southern California in pursuit of his music career, found himself down on his luck and called his father back home. The band he was in at the time in the late 70s wasn't really going anywhere. He had broken up with his girlfriend, and his dog was hit by a car. He spent almost all the money he had left on vet bills as his dog recovered, and so he called home to borrow some money from Dad. And he asked his dad, "Should I just come home? This isn't really working out here." And his father replied, "We have a vision, son. Don't stop believin'." Cain wrote those words down in a notebook he kept for lyrics, and not too long afterward, his luck changed. His band at the time was billed as an opening act for Journey, and then Journey hired him as a full-time member. The next year, in 1981, Steve Perry asked Cain to work on a song for the Escape album, which the band were all hard at work on in the studio, and Cain had it. He produced a dog-eared copy of his old lyric notebook, and together with Perry and Schon, Don't Stop Believin' was finally finished. It became the first song on side 1 of Escape, and it climbed up to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, one of 4 hit singles on that album. Cain says he drew inspiration from the words his dad said to him on the phone for the piano chords that he chose to start the song with, the opening riff. Chords that convey a sense of determination and hope, mirroring what his father said to him on the phone. Don't stop believin'. But those lyrics, the title and the chorus of the song, don't appear until the very end. And Don't Start Believin' starts like this. Just a small-town girl, living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train, going anywhere. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train, going anywhere. Now, as a girl who grew up in a small town myself, the first time I heard these lyrics blasting out of the speakers of my sister Penny's banana yellow Pontiac Firebird, I immediately understood what Steve Perry was singing about. And in the magic of all of Journey's most successful songs, there is something to do with a certain yearning, a timestamp of memory from years gone by, and in the case of Don't Stop Believin', what is possible in the future if you keep on pushing up whatever hill you're climbing. As for the city boy in these lines, I have to note that geographically speaking, there is no such place as South Detroit. It's a city of east and west sides to its residents, not north and south. In fact, just south of Detroit's downtown is the Detroit River, and if you go any further south than that, you're going to wind up in Canada. But Steve Perry chose Detroit as the city that the city boy came from in this song, and South Detroit had a certain ring to it, so it became a place that only really exists within the lyrics of this song. And it continues. A singer in a smoky room, the smell of wine and cheap perfume. For a smile, they can share the night. It goes on and on and on and on. Kane says that these lines were written out of the desperation he was seeing at clubs in Los Angeles during the years before he joined Journey, particularly at the Whiskey A Go-Go Club on the Sunset Strip, where he would often play, seeing the same tragic but beautiful people going through the motions of making connections with one another night after night after night. And the song continues. Strangers waiting up and down the boulevard, their shadows searching in the night. Streetlight people living just to find emotion, hiding somewhere in the night. Streetlight people was a phrase that came to Steve Perry as he was looking down on the street from a hotel room in Detroit one night. He said he was above the streetlights with their lights shining down, and he would see people walking beneath the glow, disappearing into and out of the dark as they stepped between the lights. And because he could only see the people walking as they became briefly illuminated and then disappeared into the dark, the term streetlight people came to him, and they made their journey into this song. And on to the next part. Working hard to get my fill. Everybody wants a thrill. Paying anything to roll the dice just one more time. Some will win, some will lose. Some were born to sing the blues. Oh, the movie never ends. It just goes on and on and on and on. Now, these lines represent the challenges we all face as we try whatever we're dreaming of in life. Whether it's making it in a rock band or finishing school or writing a book or running a marathon, we all have moments of triumph and setback along the way. Taking a risk to get a reward of any kind is a gamble, but there is nothing in life that's rewarding without some type of risk associated with it. And so we keep trying, keep going, evolve our strategies, and grow. We grow throughout life, each one of us living our own little movie that goes on and on and on. Our celebrations and our disappointments shared with each other along the way. And that's true for every person, everywhere. And the song ends with the chorus, its title repeated over and over and over again, imploring us to do the one thing that we must always do if we have a dream and want to make it happen. Don't stop believin'. The song became definitive for Journey. It's a power ballad that the Guardian's Dorian Lynskey correctly said would not die. And it certainly has only grown more popular over the years, with new fans finding it and relating to it with each decade. The film director, Patty Jenkins, chose it for a scene in the Oscar-winning film Monster, starring Charlize Theron as serial killer Eileen Wuornos in 2003. And then in 2007, The Sopranos ended its incredible run on HBO with the song playing in its final scene, a scene which abruptly ended while questions lingered in the air about its main character, Tony Soprano, right in the middle of this song. Just ended, fade to black, totally brilliant. And then in 2009, the song was covered on the TV show Glee for the first time in the series, sung by the high school choir. Those two TV shows resulted in skyrocketing downloads of the track on iTunes. It is the best-selling digital song from the pre-digital era, racking up millions of downloads decades after it was first released. And it just keeps going. Heard in other TV shows like South Park and Scrubs, and in a scene in Adam Sandler's The Wedding Singer. It was prominent in the Broadway jukebox musical Rock of Ages, and it was the rally song for the Chicago White Sox in their 2005 World Series run, games which Steve Perry attended. Delighted that the song was chosen. Steve Perry first left Journey in 1987 after years of touring. He was exhausted, he said, in a spiritual sense, and he needed a break. He reunited with the band twice after that, but eventually left for good. The song's placement in The Sopranos TV show caused Neil Schon to search for a permanent new singer to carry Journey into the next era, which he found by watching a YouTube performance from Arnel Pineda, a powerhouse singer from the Philippines. Pineda joined the band in 2007. Journey were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2017, and Steve Perry was inducted as a member of Journey. He attended, but chose not to sing at the ceremony, saying with respect that the performance should include Pineda on vocals as the current frontman. And as time passed, Steve Perry returned to music himself, which he credited to his late girlfriend, a psychiatrist named Kelly Nash, who he met through his old friend, the director Patty Jenkins. He and Nash were together for a little over a year and a half until she succumbed to breast cancer. He says he got through it by returning to music, and in 2018 released his first solo album in 20 years called Traces. And that's what music can do, heal us. As the coronavirus pandemic became a worldwide concern, some hospitals in Detroit, New York, and elsewhere began playing Don't Stop Believin' whenever a coronavirus patient was discharged. You'll find the imprint of this song everywhere in our culture, on internet memes of stop signs with the words "don't" and "believin" painted on over the stop sign to create the title of the song, and it's always on the radio somewhere. In a world which can often seem dark and dangerous, the message of inspiration in these lyrics, lifted high on the strength of Steve Perry's almost operatic tenor, is one that we return to again and again. At this point, this song is so familiar that it almost seems like a part of us. A motivational message to believe in yourself, always. Believe in what is possible. On and on and on and on. I'm Janda, and this has been Behind the Song. Special thanks to Christian Lane for the music you hear on this podcast. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Podcast One, or stream for free at WDRV.com Behind the Song or on the Drive app. Subscribe to the Behind the Song podcast on YouTube and see the video episode. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Janda Lane Radio and on Twitter at Janda Lane. On the way, episodes about the lyrics of Arlo Guthrie's famous Thanksgiving classic and the holiday season's most classic, rock and roll. If you have a song that you'd like to hear more about in an upcoming episode, just drop me a note in the comments and let me know. Thanks for being a part of Behind the Song.